Hello, friends. Welcome to 3 on Thursday. And today, it's actually a bonus. It's 4 on Thursday. It's not as fun to say that way, but it's more fun to get. I'm just waiting for everything to sync up. Okay. I think that we're good. So, if you join me today, I would love for you to hop on and say hello and let me know that you're here. I did rearrange some things, and of course, brings its own challenges. So, I will try to not miss any comments, but I do actually have something blocking my view now. So, we're not making this today. This class is for cards, not for scrapbooks. But I wanted to show you this fun page that I put together, and I did so on video. You can find it here on my YouTube channel if you are looking for it. I did do it for the Let's Flock Together group that myself and Danielle and Pauline run. And so there's lots of tips and tricks on this. The video editing on it is not the greatest because I am not the greatest at it yet because it's not been a huge focus, although it needs to be. Because I was trying to make it shorter. I'm used to crafting live with you guys and doing things kind of real time, and in videos like that, that's not necessarily kind of a need. So yeah, not my strong suit. I'll get better at it. But anyway, we walked through putting this all together, explaining how to make your papers fit your sketch, or your sketch fit your papers. I'm not sure which is the correct way to say that one. How to make something a little bit your own and add some things, tying bows and making them look really good, and a secret way to attaching them. So, well, I guess it's not secret because I shared it with you, but it's not a way that most people do. And I think it works really, really well, and it makes sure that they're not going to fall off at any point. Ever. Without your page literally being destroyed. So, that being said, this is a long retired paper pack that I was using because I was making this for my granddaughter. So, shall we get started with today's cards? This is the last stamp of the month. If I do that, maybe it will help. Oh, it does help so much. Okay. This is the last stamp of the month that there will be. Little hedgehogs, and these guys are adorable. As of a short while ago, there were only 150 thin cuts left. So, if you want this with the thin cuts, you're going to want to get that sooner rather than later. I cannot imagine that they're going to restock the thin cuts. They might. I don't know. They might surprise us. But with them going out of business, I don't know that it makes a lot of financial sense to restock it, but it might. I don't know. So, that being said, even if the thin cuts do sell out, these little guys are absolutely adorable. And as long as I have the thin cuts, you are welcome to use them at one of my crafting bees to cut out some of your own. Or you can reach out to me if you are one of my customers, and I can cut some for you and get them sent off in the mail. So, we are actually going to be using this stamp set on 2 different cards tonight. And believe it or not, we're not actually using the hedgehogs or the flowers on any of the cards tonight. So I'll have to do that next week because, I mean, these guys are adorable. Like, I think they might be the cutest hedgehogs we've ever had. And we've had some cute ones. So, anyway, let's get started. So we're going to start with our 2-for-1 card today. So we are going to make this card. And you have matching envelopes as well. Now, if you are getting the kit from me, there will be 2 envelope flap options. I'm not sure the options is right. Some of the kits have these 2, and some of the kits have the 2 that I'm going to show when I'm making you these cards. Or making these cards with you, rather. So, let's go ahead and get started. I know, I've said that already. Apparently I'm going to say it a lot today. So, you will need 2 card bases and envelopes. That's kind of a given. I also have 2 White Daisy pieces for the inside that are 4 by 5 1/4. And those are going to be your biggest pieces of cardstock for this whole thing. Alright, so these are the other 2 envelope flap options. So, like I said, if you're getting a kit, some of them have these 2, some of them have these 2. So it will really just luck of the draw is what it is. And of course they're double-sided, so you could do the other side if you'd like. Same with the cards. So these are 2 by 6 because that is the size of the envelope flap. So obviously you would want to do whatever size flap you have for your envelope. Alright, so this is what we are using today. So all of these are 1 3/4 by 6 inches. Okay, so these will all be cut in half in a specific way, which I'm going to go over that with you. So you'll be able to have 2 cards based off this. And then you will need 1 of each of these for each of the cards because they are cut differently. So you will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces total to make 2 cards. Okay, all 6 pieces are 1 3/4 by 6. All right. The other things that we are using are the Circles Thin Cuts. We are using not the smallest, but the next size up. We are also using the journaling strips. These will not be included in the kits if you are purchasing the kits or if you have earned the kits for free. And so you can use, if you don't have these, if you don't want to use these on cards because they are meant for scrapbooking, then you'll just want strips that are 1/4 of an inch. And we will actually use 2 of them with minimal leftovers, so you'll need 1/4 of an inch by 12 twice. All right. So I do have my 2 stamps already set up. So before we get into all of that, let me come back here. We have, this card is stamped with Journey ink, and it is super fun and bright. This one is stamped with Rosemary ink, not as bright, still fun. And then I am actually going to do one in Mist ink, because Mist is a little bit less green. So none of the cardstock colors are Mist, I think. Yeah, that's Seabrook, Wisteria, Honey Butter, Wisteria. Okay, so I think Mist is going to be lighter than, okay, I know it's going to be lighter than Rosemary, but I think it'll be good. So I'm going to do one in Journey again, and then one in Mist instead of Rosemary. So So let's go ahead and stamp so those have a chance to dry. All right, one of these envelopes should have, here we go, some circles. I pre-cut them because while I want to be real time with you, I don't need to do all of the things with you guys watching because you know how to die cut. Hello, Pauline. Good morning. Good morning for you. Good evening for me. Good night for Danielle. All right, so one of the things that I did do, I'm going to cover this up so I don't make a mess. So I stamped this one first and I left a good chunk of space between the sentiments, and I stamped this one second and I clearly left much less space between them. And I think I'm going to try to do a happy medium between the two, because this one I think is just a little bit too spaced out and this one is just a little bit too close together, but not by much. Like, I would rather this one than this one. They're both cute. My personal preference. Okay, so let's try this again. So these fit on here absolutely perfectly. I don't know that that's actually any, it's a little bit more space. Not a ton. So you can do the spacing to your liking. Need to grab a scratch piece of paper. All right, I don't have any more 1/4 inch on there. So on to the next sheet. So this one I'm going to start off the sheet. Just to give some variety. It doesn't actually end up mattering a whole lot because of where you're cutting them, because of the size of the paper, of the card rather. And this, of course, goes a little bit quicker when you're not busy talking. And it is kind of fun to stamp them multiple lines on the same sheet, because then you can see your spacing and you can just easily alternate it. I even fed him right before the video, him being Otis, in case you didn't just hear his holler. Okay. And I have 3 circles in case I mess up. And friend fits on here just barely. But it does. It fits completely. Have you guys found any fun things that you must have in the specials that have been happening? There are some super adorable things. So cute. Okay. Now we need to grab our pieces. So if you are not using these pieces, or even if you are using these pieces, these all come from the current mix-in paper packet. And as you know, they are all double-sided, so you could use whatever side you'd like. I have it set to use these as the center. You do not have to. You can choose a different one to use as the center. So pick 2 centers. They don't have to be the same. Doesn't matter. Set those aside because you are measuring those differently. Okay. And then we're going to take 2 pieces because we can cut 2 pieces at once. So we're only going to mark 2 pieces. And then just line them up. So we are going to grab a pencil, and we're going to mark along the short end at 1/2 inch from one side. You can do it from the left side, you can do it from the right side, doesn't matter. You're going to stick with that side on all your pieces. So if you're going from the left, go from the left. Okay, turn those around, still going from the left, marking at 1/2 inch. And you can even use a pen for this because these will actually get covered up. You won't see them. All right, so stack up our pieces. Let's move this guy out of the way. And we are going to bring in a paper trimmer. And we are going to line up from our mark. Yes, oh my gosh, I just had a scare myself second. We're going to cut from one mark to the other mark. So we are not cutting a fine point on these. We are just cutting, we're cutting blunt edges. Okay. So now we have 2 of each of those. So they are identical in size, depending on how well you line up things. So I'm just lining up along the lines here. And if they're not perfect, that's okay too. Okay. So on your centerpiece, you can mark if you would like, or you can just line up your paper with the lines on your cutter. So I will mark one and then I will show you the lining up on the cutter for the other. All right, so on this one, we're going to put both marks on the same end. Okay, so we're going to put one mark at 1/4 of an inch and one mark at 1/2 of an inch from either side. So left side is 1/4 of an inch, right side is 1/2 inch, or vice versa, 1/4, 1/2, either way. Okay, so if you are marking from one end to the other, 1/4 inch and 1 1/4 inches. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so then you would cut from the top corner, so our marks are down here. You're going to cut from the top right corner to the right mark, and you're going to cut from the top left corner to the left mark. All right, so we're going to line that up. And you don't have to, but I have found that it is easier to flip it around. Okay, and yes, it is asymmetrical. Okay, so if you wanted to do it just on your trimmer, so if I line this up, it's 1 3/4. So if I want to do this side at the 1/2 inch, I'm just going to move this corner in 1/2 inch. So it would be 1 1/4. Right, so this corner is at 1 1/4, and this one corner is all the way at the edge blade. Voila. Okay, and we can flip this around. Right, so we're at 1 1/4. It's a little bit off, but that's okay. Right, so we're at 1 1/4 here, and holy cows, I did not get that lined up at all. Let's fix that. You want your angle to go all the way up to the corner. There we go. Much better. All right, flipping that around again. All right. So again, essentially 1 1/4. We want to cut 1/4 off of this side, so we're just gonna push that one over to 1 inch. And we're gonna push this one back down so it's lined up. Voila. So these pieces are scrap, or you can use them inside your card, which we will also be doing with the offcuts from the rest of these. So I'm going to go ahead and save these off to the side. And we are going to grab a card base because we are ready to attach things. I got confused for a second, but these are for the envelopes. So we are going to take our glue. You can use a tape runner or you can use liquid glue, whichever you are more comfortable with. Either way, we are going to do a full perimeter around our card, and then we're going to do some lines across the short direction of our card. Okay, you do want to have full lines all the way across. Because we are kind of piecing this together as we go. All right. So this is what we have so far, right? And you can see that glue on there. So I'm going to set one of each of these pieces off in its own group. That is for the second card. All right, we're going to start with our center piece, and we are going to line up the widest edge, and we're going to center it. Ish. It does not have to be perfect. Okay, easy peasy. Next, you're going to decide what color you want next. On my cards, on my sample cards, you can see I did actually mix it up. If I put these two together, it shows you a little bit better, right? So you can do them kind of in whatever order you would like to do them. Okay. So let's see, I will copy this one and then I'll copy the other one for the other card. So this one, I am going to line up at the short end instead of the long end. This will accentuate our angles a little bit. You want to make sure that both corners are off the edge of the card, or at least line up with it. If you have a tiny gap between your pieces, that's okay because we are putting that white piece over top of them. Obviously, you don't want a giant gap because that wouldn't look very good. All right, so I'm going to rotate this. Now this, depending on how you cut your pieces and where you laid your first piece, your center piece down, this piece may or may not actually cover this corner at the shortest end, so you might need to adjust that a little bit. And you might not. It just depends on how things fall. Okay. So now repeat with the other side. So you're always flipping back and forth. So the tiny end will match up with the big end. And I am always, with the exception of the centerpiece, I'm always lining up the short end as the primary instead of the big end. If you want to do it opposite or mix and match, that is your prerogative. You do just want to make sure that two corners on each side overlap the edge of the card. Because if you don't, you're going to have some pieces showing. So like if I did this, I have that tiny bit of white showing there, which obviously is not the look we're going for. Okay. So let's go ahead and glue the other card next, and then we'll do all of the cutting at the same time. Okay. Because I'm trying to get this so close. And do make sure that you get your corners too. Right, I don't know about you, but I tend to lift up a little bit early, and that kind of messes with things. All right, card opens, perfect. Put this in the center, lining up the big end. See, so here's another example. If I laid this like this, we would have a little white sliver showing. And that's not the look we're going for today. Otis, please stop. And it really does go very quick once you start doing it, and you're not trying to slow down so that it can be easily seen by everybody. Okay, so our cards look a little wonky right now, and that's okay, because we are going to trim them. The nice part about this is that there's no adhesive on these strips. And so they're going to be easy peasy to cut. Not that the adhesive makes it harder. It just makes things harder. Alright, so you do want to cut these nicely, these long pieces. You don't want to just butcher them, because like I said earlier, we are going to use them on the inside of the card. So do make sure that you are not cutting your fold of your card. That would be bad. So Danielle showed me the card that she got, which is the card that this card is designed after. And I thought it was super cute. And it was, I was probably making it so, but it was more difficult to figure out the measurements than it probably should have been. Alright. Get all these little pieces up. Keeping these guys. Alright. So, if we wanted, we could bring in, goodness gracious, I just can't get a hold of anything. We could bring in our yellow pieces. With or without the green pieces. What? Oh yeah, because I did them in a different order. I was so confused for a second. I'm like, why is this not working? So you could put them together so it's just two, or you can add, you know, that third one in. It's a little bit short. Okay. So I actually think I'm going to use some liquid glue. That will help get all the way down to that fine point at the end. There's kind of a big glob at the end, so I'm trying to get some of that taken off, but still be able to be used. Alright, let that dry. Apparently the air bubble that was in there yesterday, or whenever that was, is not done being a pain yet. So I guess you could say that this is kind of a different take, or I think it's a different take on like the Sunburst type card. I'm going to flip these over so that they can dry. Excuse me. Now the other thing we could do is we could use the other end. And it has kind of a almost looks like a scrubby end. But it is meant to spread the glue out. So there was a little bit more glue on there than I would normally like, so it is causing some warping. So let's see if we can deal with that a little bit better. So when you burnish, the paper's natural reaction is to curl up towards the direction of your burnish. So if you have a lot of glue, or if you are in a humid area, you know, like the Pacific Northwest, then it's a good idea to also burnish on the other side. Okay. So while those are doing their thing, let's finish off our cards. So if you are using the journaling strips, the great thing about them is they are sticky and ready to go. And we are just quite literally going to cover the lines. Right? Easy peasy. And you can do it, you know, centered on the line that you're covering. You can do it lined up a little bit more. So here's a little trick that I'm going to do. So I'm going to be on the line, but I have this space here. But that is okay because we are going to put our circle here and that will cover that up. So I can either use call you here, or I could do happy. So let's go ahead and do the last part of happy. We're just going to essentially line it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, actually let's cover that up. Alright, rinse and repeat. As you can see, these go together really fairly quickly. Once you stop showing and just start doing. And then you just snip, snip at the edges. Alright, grab some foam tape for our circles. When I was looking earlier, there was still some of the shaker foam kits available. Okay, there's our cards. We still have to do the insides. So these are still fairly damp. That is one of the downsides of using a liquid glue, is that sometimes it takes a little bit for things to dry. The other thing you want to be careful of though too is that because this is damp, it could possibly activate the adhesive on the back side of your envelope flap. So you want to be careful that you don't seal your envelope closed without a card in it. Alright, last but not least, let's put these babies inside. Let's do this one here and this one here. And that is 2 cards down. So these are the 4 different envelope styles that are in the kits. So like I said, if you purchase the kits or earn the kits for free, these are the envelope options that will end up in your kits. Okay. Next up, this card turned out so cute. I actually wasn't going to do this card. I was going to do a different one. And then I saw the card and I was like, oh, nope, I gotta do this. So, this is the card. Like, is this not adorable? Super easy, super fun. Let's make it. Okay, what do we need? We need the all-purpose tags for our tag sentiment. We need the Cosette card making for our flowers and leaves. And I have these here. Let's set them aside so they don't get lost. I am coloring with the Natural Landscapes, so I kept in the browns to kind of have a monochromatic look to the card. And let's see, 3 colors, and then toffee ink. So those are the supplies, the non-consumable supplies. So let's do our thing. Okay, so what you'll need is obviously some white daisy to cut your tags. I cut 2 just in case I needed another one. Those are some extra vellum pieces. So we have a card base that is 4 by 11, scored at 5.5. We have 2 pieces that are the same size, 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. One is craft and one is white daisy. We have a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. It's actually probably 5.5, but we'll cut it down to go on the inside. And then we have 8 pieces of vellum that are 3/4 by 5. And then a piece of white string. So you will also need some white daisy for your stamping. Alright, so let's stamp first. You will also need some washi to do some masking. Alright. So let's go ahead and do the masking one first. So this is the stamp that says a little something for you. And we're just going to go with a little. We're going to cover up the rest. And just so that I know that it's inked up enough, I'm going to go ahead and leave the mask on. Oh, let's get the right piece to stamp here. That would be helpful. Alright, taking off our mask, and I should have stamped hello first, but that's okay. We will make it work, stamping it in the order we are. Alright. A little hello. Perfect. I love it when I don't have to re-stamp something or use another piece. Alright, so I went ahead and put these 2 flowers on the same block. Stamp down. Pauline says she saw this card the other day. She can't wait to see. Like, it is so easy. Alright. Trying to make sure I'm on screen here, and I feel like I keep moving out of screen. So we're doing 4 of these leaves. Oh, I need another piece. Alright, stamp off. Perfect. Alright. So we are done with our stamping for this card. Actually, let's not do that. Alright, let's do a little bit of coloring first. So we're not doing any coloring on the leaves themselves. So that's a little bit of a time saver. We are okay. trying to remember which one is which. Okay, so what is this? Hawthorn Brown we are using to color the smaller buds, or the stem with the smaller buds. We're just going with a light color here. Not doing a ton of pressure. Not doing a ton of color. Okay, and then the lighter color we're doing the other blooms with. Again, sticking with light pressure. You know, I don't know if these cone parts should be the color of the bloom or if they should be the color of the stem. I don't know. So the good news is the coloring goes by super quick. So the parts that would be green, let's see. This one was chestnut brown. This one is dark timber. So I am coloring in the leaves. And then if you would like, you can go over the stem. You can just draw over it so that it matches. Or you can color light enough that you don't have to do that. So I think I colored light enough that I didn't have to do that on these, but on the sample card I did actually go over. I did actually draw over the stems with this pencil. Okay. Let's do our die cutting really quick. That is not going to fit on that one, no matter how hard I try. Okay. Sorry. That's probably fairly loud, and I apologize for that. piece. You can see the suction feet. Okay, let's do the thing. All right, so we are going to run a tape runner along both long sides on the back side of our craft piece. Okay, and then we're going to take our vellum piece, and you can do whatever angle makes you happy. Okay, so this one, I'm going to show you how to not make the mistake I made. So we are going to fold this over like this. Okay, but I'll go ahead and cut now. Normally I would just cut at the end, but we are going to cut across this fold that we made, right? We're going to go ahead and trim off some of this on the back because we don't need that much. Right, and then we have this piece. Mine, it was opposite. I folded this first, and this is open instead of closed down because I didn't think about it and I just cut all of it off. So I had nothing to attach to. All right, so now it's folded across on the back and we have no little open areas. We'll trim this so we don't have anything sticking out. Okay, the first one's kind of the hardest, sort of, because you have to decide what angle you're doing and all that jazz. All right, next you need to decide how much space you want between. You can do a small amount, you can do a bigger amount. I did, if you are getting a kit, I did include 8 strips, and that should be enough with some extra. But if you're making this on your own, you could make more. Alright, so we are just lining up the spacing, try to make it equal, folding over and pressing on the back, which is why we put that glue down to make this super easy. Right, we're not putting any glue on the front, so yes, it's open, but that's okay. When we attach the other things to the front, it will help lay everything down. So you just want to keep checking to make sure that your spacing is about the same. There's no need to measure. We don't need to be doing that. All right, so now we're at the other end. We have another corner like we did before. So we're going to do the easy side first. See, and actually this is probably how I did it that time too. So we're going to fold over, and this might be easier on these corner pieces if you fold it and lay it down. And then you can use your fingers, you can use your bone folder. Okay, so what I did before is I just snip, and that's how you end up with this. So you want to not do that, don't do that. You want to snip at the fold you made, snip off some of the excess on the back side, add more glue, and then bring over the front like that, and then it's not loose on the bottom. See the difference? It makes all the difference in the world. All right, so I have 3 pieces left, so you guys would have about the same if you have the spacing about the same. Okay, so we do need to run some glue on this side. Right, let's not waste all of our stuff here. And then fold it around to the back. I don't think this will be quite enough to do the other corner. Nope, not quite. So I'm going to grab one of the other pieces I had instead of one of the full-length pieces, and I'm going to again add glue to that one side. So this card, like the last card, you want to make sure that your pieces that you're gluing down fully extend past. Right? You don't want something that doesn't go all the way. I don't know that I'm explaining that very well. Hopefully it makes sense. Alright, trim at our fold line, just like before. And voila. So the amount of space that you put between your vellum pieces will depend on what you have to do to your corner pieces. So you might end up with some extra vellum. That's okay. These cards are so easy to do. Like, it's kind of crazy. All right, so let's do, oh, and things catch on that all the time. So now I did not on my sample card. Normally I am gluing, recently I'm gluing these pieces all the way down to the edge. And in my opinion, it just kind of ran the card together a little bit too much on the inside. And so I wanted to bring that up just a little bit so you can see the white. So it'll put a little bit of what is the word I'm looking for? It will denote the difference between the two. Right, so, oops. See the difference? I think it just makes this one pop so much more. Okay. So let's go ahead and add this on. We're not popping it up or anything, although you could. Alright, all we have left to do is create our little bouquet. So I just the other day got this silicone mat from my desk, and it makes things really difficult to pick up with my non-fingernails. So we are going to use some glue dots. And let's see, we're going to put one behind this flower here. And then one behind that flower there. Okay. And then we're going to do behind the two lower flowers. And then kind of right in on the front side, right here ish, it doesn't have to be perfect, of one full color and one second generation. Okay, so we're going to put these two kind of together. So we're trying to keep the stems together, right? And then I take a lighter and put this here on the left side. So we have the stem ending right here. Ish. Okay, and things will wiggle because we don't have a ton of glue dots here. That's okay. All right, so the other dark one that does not have a glue dot on it, and that one is going to go kind of here. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Then we're going to grab the light one and kind of attach that, and then the dark one. So I'm not going to put these away just yet. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to take a piece of washi and just kind of hold them all together. You can use regular tape or whatever. All right, and then we're going to put a glue dot right there. And then we are done with our glue dots. So we're going to take our string, and our string is approximately about 10.5 inches long ish. It can be longer, it can be shorter. And we're going to essentially start with it up to the tallest point here, right? We're just holding that out of the way, and we are going to wrap. And we have our glue dot here. to help our string stay in place. And keep close together. So we're just making this be kind of a little bundle. All right, and then you wrap it until these pieces are about the same length-ish. Okay. And then we're going to take another piece of washi to hold this down so that we can then tie our bundle into our bow. Alright, so let's see if I can make this be as happy as I did before. Alright, so my secret weapon, tweezers. Okay, so I'm just going to pull it through and I'm going to let go. And I know that is the scariest part right there. And we're going to adjust our strings so that they are pointing down. And we're going to make our loops for our bow be about the same. And then we're going to pull it tight. Look how nice that looks. Don't you wish it was always that easy? I know I do. All right, foam tape. Alright, just peel these babies off. Before we glue it down, we gotta glue on our little sentiment here. Now our goal is to line up our hole here with our ribbon, our little tie, so it looks like it's kind of tied on there with that. And voila! Super adorable. And that's how you put that card together. Super cute. All right, last but not least, we are actually going to use a retired stamp set. So this is the February stamp of the month, because I needed some flowers. I needed some more flowers. The idea that I did have didn't actually work how I wanted it to, so that part was kind of saddening, but that's okay. So we are going to use some embossing powder again, and that again is because what I wanted to do didn't work the first time. So we have some Versamark, and we are going to use Seabrook and Melon. Now the paper we're using is papaya, but that ink pad is sold out. And every single time I've ever tried to get the papaya ink pad, it has been sold out. So for our purposes today, the Melon ink pad will work perfectly. So, our envelope is not decorated, but here is our card. I do think it is probably a bit underwhelming on camera. And that is unfortunate because I think it is super adorable. So what do we need? So our colors are papaya and white daisy. Okay, so we have a card base, 5 1/4 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. We have a white daisy, 4 by 5 1/4. We have, 4 by half by 4 for the inside. Okay, I actually have the measurements written down this time so that I can tell you what they are. We have a 4 by 5 1/4 for the front of papaya. We have 2 1/4 by 4 white daisy, 2 3/8 by 4 1/8 papaya, and 2 5/8 by 4 3/8 white daisy. And that's it. That is all she wrote. Like, it's crazy. So, this card goes together so fast, it's kind of crazy. Even with the embossing. Alright, so we're going to grab the smallest panel. Now, if you wanted to dress it up a little bit more, you could always do some stamping on the inside panel as well. So I do have 2 separate stamps on here. And we are just going to center that as best we can. Now, you can maybe see this because I did stamp in Mocha ink, trying to do my other idea. And I forgot to clean my stamp set before I went into the Versamark. But that's okay, because we are using white powder. So all of the color from the stamp will be removed. I'm going to hold this with my reverse tweezers. Heat up my heat gun just a little bit first. Pauline says she loves the way I say mocha. It must be my accent. Alright, and so we are just going to heat this until it melts. And I know it probably won't show up on camera, but maybe. Weirder things have happened. So, if you've not used embossing powder before, it is granulated miniature plastic, essentially. And so when you add heat, it melts. And it sticks because the ink that we use is slightly sticky. And so it holds onto the powder. The powder melts and then stays attached to the paper because that's kind of how that works. It just kind of melts into the paper. All right, so we're gonna let that cool while we do the rest of this. So before we do anything else, we're gonna take our 4 by 5 1/4 panel and here we go. And our embossing board. So this is obviously an older board. You're going to take your stylus and we're going to score on all 4 sides 1/8 of an inch in. Okay, so in this case 3 7/8. Five 1/8. Three 7/8. 5 1/8. Now, okay, let me bring this up. Maybe you can see. So if you look, you can maybe see that I have some double embossed lines that don't go all the way to the corners, and you can do this. I did it because I messed up when I was scoring. My stylus jumped to the next line in the middle of the paper, and so then I just went through and continued and did that. So if you wanted to do that, if you just put your stylus in the groove that you've already made and then just kind of move over, you can feel when it gets to that other groove. And you can just do a score. So I am not going all the way to the corner. All right, so now I have some double scores again. Interesting how the light does its weird thing. Okay. So we are going to take our embossed piece and our inks, right? And we're actually going to take Q-tips because I needed something small that would put very little ink on my paper. I just had another idea. Shimmer brush. So you can use the Q-tip and do some coloring, or you can use your shimmer brush. So what I'm going to do to use my shimmer brushes. I'm going to take a block and I'm going to stamp the block, essentially. And even this, I think, is going to be a little bit too much ink, so let's wipe off actually quite a bit, because I don't want very much ink at all. When you open these, you do not want to do it over your project. All right, hopefully that's a little bit more color than I wanted, but that's okay. It's really hard to see with the light. With the light and the shine from the embossing powder and the shimmer brush. So this is kind of what we have. And like I said, that is more than what I wanted, but maybe I don't know if this is actually going to spread, but probably not. But that's okay. Now, the shimmer brushes do not have a fixative in them. Okay, so they are rubbing alcohol and shimmer brush. Okay, so that is pretty right there. All right, that needs to be washed. So if you are worried about the shimmer coming off, which I would understand. I wish it would stop bubbling. Just give me some. So if you're worried about it coming off of your project onto yourself or your recipient, I think this brush is almost empty. Then you can get a fixative spray. So you can get the fancy fixative spray. Perfect. Or you can go get some cheap aerosol hairspray, like Aquanet. I don't know if Aquanet is still available. So this one clearly has more color than this one. But we could go over this one. Interesting. Oh, I really do think this one's empty. It is. I've opened many of these, but that is the very first one I think I've ever actually finished. That I have finished. I'm sure I've had some finished in class. Ooh, that was a lot. So if you wanted to do the fixative, you would just let this dry, of course, and then just give it a spray. So pretty. All right. So pretty. So they look similar, but slightly different because of the way the ink was added. All right, let's attach. So I am going to use some thin foam tape. Behind the larger piece. My brain doesn't like how open those spots were, so a couple more pieces. Off with the backings. And then these pieces just fit nice and snugly. See, that shimmer does come off. Unfortunately. All right. So, if you were smarter than me, you would do the shimmer brush after you've assembled your card. Oh, but look at that. That looks so cool. I don't know if you guys can actually see it. But it's the actual image itself. That's really cool looking. Alright, I'll have to see if I can not mess it up so I can get a picture of it. Try to not get that shimmer all over me. May or may not be a possibility. Alright, and that is our last card. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. Hopefully it inspires you to make a card or 2 or 4. So thank you so very much for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the videos at all today, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to be notified of when I go live, hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it, and that will send you a notification when I do go live, just in case you forget. And then if you have liked this and have already thumbs upped it, I would really love it if you shared it with your crafty friends. So thank you all so very much. I look forward to see you guys next week when I have another 3 card